How's it going, guys and gals? Eldrevo back. I'm gonna go ahead and put out this guide for this POB for this build, and it's basically just a starter build. It's something that will get you from Act One to mapping, possibly, well, not possibly. It should get you to about T13s or so. It can kill in higher maps. It can, it does a really good job. It has really good damage. However, it is quite squishy, so I cannot recommend it as a hardcore build. There are, certain items you can get that make it even stronger. I'm gonna review a couple of them that will help along the way if you have access to them. But in general, you can run this build on just rares. So currently, I'm running um, Crown of the Inward Eye. It's a good helm in general for casters. You get a lot of extra energy shield and life and mana and and some damage. It's not like a huge damage boost, at least not for this build. You can do better if you can get yourself a energy shield base helmet with the -9 cold res to enemies near you. That would be a really big plus. But early on, just running an energy shield with, an energy shield base with either a lot of life on it or just, a lot of energy shield would work just fine. Um, you can eventually convert completely over to energy shield, but the build that I put together is mainly, again, for starting. It's not going to be super expensive. Uniques involved, like this ring, for instance. It's a really good ring. Yeah, you run it, it gives you chain for your spells, and it makes a huge difference when clearing with Eye of Winter. Um, Eye of Winter, the base damage is decent, and then it scales really well. Now, the one thing I can say is you do have to have some skill in aiming the Eye of Winter. Now, I'm using Unleash, so I'm throwing out 4 of these. So let me take that out real quick. Okay, so we watch it, it releases these spikes. The spikes are what do the damage. The eye does absolutely nothing. But the eye does indicate where you're aiming, and at the end point where you see all of the spikes go everywhere, that is where it's at its maximum damage. So when you're killing a boss, you want to try and keep your distance. Now, there are a couple of ways to do this. If you were to run it with like faster projectiles, it will literally shoot like off the screen. No matter how much you add in, like if you run it with the gem, it already does that, and then if you add more from, say, long shot or flash freeze, and I can actually show you an example of that. Should have the amulet here somewhere. Okay, so I have flash freeze on this amulet, and if I stand over here, you can see where the eye ends. Now, if I switch over to this amulet, as long as nothing breaks, you can see it shoots a little bit further. So it ends right there,
I need more mana.
and it does move quite a bit faster. I'm trying to make sure that I have enough space to demonstrate. So it ends right there, and if I switch back, it ends a little bit closer. So right here, by comparison, over here. So it's not a huge difference, but it is a difference. And if you do add um, more fast or increased projectile speed, it will go further. Like that's just 20%. If I were to drop in, for instance, a faster projectile, faster attack, it's faster projectile. I'll take out cold pen and I'll throw on flash freeze, so that would give me even more. So that gives me uh 50% plus another 20, so that's 70. And so yeah, you can see it shoots way further now. It's off the screen. Now this could be useful, depending on how you run the build. I'm still doing a lot of testing with how this build can be run instead of the way that I'm currently running it. It's again, at this point, it's a very strong build. It can kill map bosses with 1 to 2 shots. It can kill conquerors with 1 to 2 shots for the most part. I'm getting to the point where it is taking a little bit longer. And if you look at my atlas, I've already gotten quite a few gems, almost 3 in each one of these, and I think 1 in a couple of the outside ones. So I've gotten to a decent level already as far as that goes. Probably Awakener 4 or so. Um, so I've made some progress as far as that goes, and the majority of that progress was done with nothing but rares. I recently just obtained these gloves, and what they do is they increase the speed at which your seals regenerate. So you can see they regenerate pretty fast. Uh, by the time the cast finish, in fact, before it finishes, your 4 seals are already up. So you can move, dodge, etc., and then throw another one, and it'll have your 4 seals. Now, if I were to take these gloves off, I drop down to about 50%. So it is a bit slower, but you can make it work. Now, I'm looking into other aspects of this, but that's also because I am running 50% currently in passive. So I got 48% here, and then I also have another 20% here. Oh wait, no, this side. 20% here, and you grab Thunderous Salver, which also gives you some increased critical strike chance, and it gives you the 4th seal for your Unleash, which increases the amount of damage you're doing because you're throwing out. Each eye produces 8 projectiles at the end of the cast, and so you're putting out 32 projectiles because you're putting out 4 of those eyes. I'm also getting 30% here for Seal Mender. You don't need the gems, or you don't need the jewel. So if you just, if you literally just have, you don't even need these gloves. You literally just have the extra seal. As long as you're able to move around, you can still kill. You'll still be putting out 4 seals. It'll just take a little bit longer for them to charge back up. Um, that's how I did it for the longest time. I like I said, I barely got these gloves, and the jewel I had to roll it myself. So it's something that you can obtain in solo self found. This build is solo self found capable. You don't need this ring. It is a good ring. What you could do is just swap 1 gem, cold pen and chain, and you're good. Um, Now for the main setup, I am using Eye of Winter, Unleash support. So those are the two main. Those are the main two. Unleash you don't get into a little bit later, so you can run like Arcane Surge or something like that. Try to make sure that you maintain Arcane Surge at all times though. So like if you cast it once, it should, Arcane Surge should pop up so it stays on you constantly. Increased critical strike support is needed. This is mandatory because you're getting a lot of damage from those crits, and since you're putting out so many projectiles, that increases. It's just multiplicative in that aspect. Added cold damage, great support gem. If you can get awakened, get awakened. As you can see, I've corrupted mine. I have it up to level 21. It offers a good amount of flat damage, so that way everything else that you're using will increase even will increase the damage even better, since it's all percentages. Percentage cold damage this, percentage cold damage that. Cold pen, of course, is always good when you're running any kind of cold damage. If you're running any kind of other specific damage, of course, like fire penetration and so forth and so on is good. This is a good gem. And I'm currently running increased critical strike damage support. Depending on what you're running, you can technically run arcane surge as well instead, and you'll get about the same max damage. Though I'd rather have a higher critical strike multiplier personally, and that means I don't have to keep arcane surge up. But if you can, you could always have arcane surge on another set, and keep arcane surge with your flame dash or something of that nature, and still gain the extra damage there. Um, Running that as far as defenses, I'm running Steelskin at level 7 currently. Um, the best thing I can say is base your Steelskin level off of your strength. You can run it a bit lower. Like level 7 is a bit low, so like The best thing I could say is maybe keep cast on damage taken at level 1, and then raise steel skin to the point where it's equivalent as far as requirement and level as a cast on damage taken. Make sure to run it with increased duration because you want it to stay up as long as you can, as long so you can absorb some of that damage for you. And I'm currently running Tempest Shield. Now, Tempest Shield would work better if you have a bit more block chance than this current build. I've made 3 of these builds. One of them I ran with a lot of block chance and used glancing blows and had 75% chance to block and everything like that. The only issue is those nodes that you need are so far out of the way that don't really you don't really get the damage that you need to progress. So it's kind of a give and take. Now, again, I'm still experimenting with this build. It's not perfected yet, in my opinion. Yes, you can run it with certain items, which will be great. If you can farm yourself up a Chevron's wrappings, perfect. That's awesome. Eventually you can switch over and do chaos inoculation and all that good stuff. That said, um, when you're first starting out, I know you're not gonna have that. So this build, this POB and everything is specifically for people trying to get themselves from Act 1 to mapping. They can farm up gear for either another character they want or, farm up gear for this build. My gear's still not perfect. The wand that I have is okay. It's just okay. The shield that I have, it's okay because it has damage, but it's lacking other stats that could be better. Um, and a lot of energy shield because you can actually get a titanium spirit shield and have like 300 energy shield. Um, Amulet, I'm basically running one that's allowing me to use the rest of my gear. Because I need the extra dex. Of course, cover your bases as far as resistances go. If you can get diamond rings, a rare diamond ring, perfect. I finally found one that kind of fit into my build because it had the dex I needed. It came with life, mana, um, elemental resistance. Of course, it has a couple of useless mods on there too, but it's not perfect. As far as belts, your belt is going to be another defensive item. Have energy shield, the strength if you need strength, life, mana, etc. Like you can run this eventually if you can get a good Stygian Vise with a decent energy shield roll and life roll and all that good stuff. That'd be even better because then you can get even more flat cold damage, or you can get onslaught. There's so many things that you can get to increase the efficiency and speed of your build. Now, if we look in here in the passives, in the POB, I do have a breakdown, but I just wanted to show you I have a couple of just regular jewels. I mean, I have some spell damage here and some spell damage here, and critical strike multiplier. It's really not much. In all honesty, I should be running all of these with increased energy shield or increased life. This build does lack those things. Right now, I am running discipline. So like if I take off discipline, because usually I like running Skitterbots. Skitterbots offers a lot in offense and defense because it chills and shocks enemies. Due to that, I'd say run Skitterbots early on. If you feel like you're not having trouble with damage, I would suggest switching Skitterbots off and putting Discipline on. Especially if you feel like you're not tanky enough, it'll add a decent amount of energy shield. It does, of course, reserve mana, and that's another thing. Early on, I suggest you get yourself an enduring mana flask. Doesn't matter what type, you cover whatever base you need. Dowsing if you need to remove ignite, bleed if you need to, if you want to have bleed immunity during that time. Um, what is the other ones? Not quickening, curing for poison, and then there's one for curses as well. And I would say definitely run one for curses because silence is definitely something that's gotten me killed multiple times. I do have quite a few deaths on this build. Again, I've been experimenting and moving gems around and moving passes around, so that's something I can say. But it is a really good build to start with if you have, especially at the very beginning of leagues. This seems like a really good build. I'm still experimenting. I'm still tinkering, and I'm still trying to figure out a better way to make it defensive and offensive. So I will come out with an update video. But for now, this is where the build stands. In the POB, all the gear is just stand-in gear. It's nothing special. It's just there for just to show the build, just so you can see the damage go up, etc. Does have a couple of items in there that are good for leveling, which you usual stuff, tabula, wanderlust, so forth and so on. Um, and just to display it a little bit, I will go run a quick map. Won't do anything too high. Let's do like a 13. When you roll your maps, careful. You don't want multiple projectiles, etc. Uh, we'll juice it a little bit. I probably will have to re-roll it. Enfeeble. Power charge on hit. The ignite's a bit of a pain, but luckily I have the mana flask. As long as I keep the mana flask up, I should be good. And you can also run, of course, you can run any of this stuff if you want. We're just gonna run the map so I can display the character. And see, look, I'm actually gonna take off all of my auras. Oh, I might put clarity back on just for the extra mana regen. So even without hatred on and stuff like that, I can pretty much just throw something in and it'll wipe out a pack. Not a big deal. The damage is good on here. As you get gear, of course, it gets better. As you upgrade your gems, it gets better. You know, um, it. Only reason that I'm still running hatred and stuff like that is I am lacking a little bit of damage for higher level content, and I mean like Cyrus, etc. I'm still trying to tweak the damage a bit, and I'm definitely trying to tweak the defenses on this character. You can run shield charge with Fortify right now, but that will be going away. From my understanding, it'll kind of be useless for a caster like myself to use it. But you can, go through things pretty fast. You just keep everything going like that. Um, and for extra damage, of course, you can throw down your curse. I use it with Hydrosphere, Hex Touch, and Frostbite. It does quite a bit of damage. Go ahead and throw up my auras again. And these are my offensive auras, so I do even more damage. Hydrosphere alone can actually wipe out packs if you just want to use that a little bit, to kind of move through. Just make sure not to go straight into any packs. This build does not have enough block or dodge to really be effective in that manner. So your job is to move around, stay out of the way. We almost died right there, see? And that was so precision was up. That character also had that mob also had an aura on it. So yeah, we took a lot of damage there. But yeah, so I'm still tweaking it. T13s, etc. It's totally possible with just rare gear. Snake Pit Ring is really good for chain. If you can't afford it or you haven't found one, you can run chain in the links. I would suggest running it instead of cold pen, keeping added cold damage just to increase the amount of damage you're putting out. But other than that, I mean, the boss will come down real quick, so I can show you all the damage on the bosses. If I can get a clear shot, got these little buggers in the way. And I just wanted to showcase the build. Since T13, again, you can run higher stuff. So, okay. Oh. There you go. So, took a couple of hits. It's all about the angle, though. If you've ever played Diablo 2, it works very similarly to the Frozen Orb from Diablo 2. So you kind of want to get it right at the end of the cast. That's where the maximum damage is. You can even read the description of Eye of Winter, and the way it describes it is fires a single eye projectile which constantly releases shard projectiles in a spiral. The shards will damage enemies they impact, dealing cold damage. The eye cannot damage enemies when the eye dissipates or collides with terrain. With terrain, it releases a faster spiral of extra shards. So that's another thing to keep in mind. So if you wanted to make it explode, you can have it hit a wall and it'll explode. Um, so something to keep in mind. But this is the build. I will post the POB in the description. I'll post the paste bin. I hope y'all enjoy the build. I am still working on doing a little bit better as far as like I need to look into maybe somebody who can do some graphics for me, and that way I can have better edited videos for these guides that I intend to make. But please give me some feedback. Let me know what you think. I'm gonna try and keep the videos down, below 30 minutes. And I hope you enjoyed it. Till next time, this is Elder World saying over and out. Don't forget to hit that follow, like, sub, and share button.